Alrighty, welcome everyone. To start off today, we're gonna play a little game of hands up. So hands up if you've had a piece of fruit today. Well done. And now hands up if you woke up feeling refreshed today. Come on, be honest. And now hands up if you are genuinely excited to be here today.
Nice. All right, welcome everyone. My name's Sophie, this is Farhan, and we are the co-chairs of the Monash University Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group, or MULMIG. And we're very, very excited for you guys all to be here tonight.
So no matter if you came here for the event or for the free food, you guys know who you are, hopefully we can give everyone the answer to what is lifestyle medicine.
All right, so imagine this. A person, it's 20 years ago, a person, let's call him Buddy, has just started at a new job. It's a desk job. He spends most of his days sitting down. His job is stressful and it keeps him up at night worrying about it. Over time, his sleep gets worse, and to compensate for the ensuing lack of energy, his diet gets worse as well. He starts to eat more sugar, more fats, more salt. His blood pressure goes up. And before long, he's presenting to you with heart disease and diabetes. He's suffering, he doesn't know where to begin, and he feels like he's dug himself into a hole that he just can't get himself out of.
You see, 50 years ago, patients like Buddy wouldn't have been so common. But nowadays, you can expect to see at least one, if not more, patients just like Buddy every single day as you practice as a doctor. Now, instead of Buddy, it could have been your grandfather, your father, or even your mother. And you can sit there and say, there's no chance that my relatives will end up like Buddy, suffering from multiple different chronic conditions at once. But when almost 50% of Australians suffer from at least one chronic condition, then probability would simply say otherwise.
Over the last 4 decades, chronic disease has slowly but surely crept its way up into the spotlight. And now almost 3/4 of disease worldwide are lifestyle related. The distribution of disease is changing.
See, when so many patients on our wards have similar backstories, you have to ask, what can we do? Of course, there's the immediate downstream management like the injections and the pharmaceuticals, but what about what's going on up the river? What can we do to tackle these chronic diseases so that they are comprehensively managed, potentially reversed, and potentially prevented in our next patient? What we can do is cut the grass at its root. And what that looks like is addressing the lifestyle factors that led up to these diseases in the first place.
There's a really good book called Atomic Habits, written by James Clear, and in it he writes that every action that you take is a vote for the type of person that you wish to become. And more evidence is now emerging to show that it's never too late to start voting for better health. And we as medical practitioners have the power to help make these changes for other people as well. In clinical practice, this looks like talking about the actions and decisions which directly correlate with health. Decisions about food, about sleep, about stress management, about consumption of alcohol and smoking, about exercise, and about connecting with others. These things, the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, inform the degree to which our bodies can function effectively.
Now, if any of what we've just talked about makes you go, you know what, you're right, we can be doing a bit more in the realm of lifestyle medicine to prevent these chronic diseases, then understand that a change like this can only begin with you. You have the power to prevent up to 80% of chronic diseases through lifestyle practice. You have the power to revolutionize the approach to patient consultations. You have the power to change lives.
So tonight we are lucky enough to be joined by 2 incredible guest speakers who will talk to you about the nuances of lifestyle medicine, to discuss this whole system approach to preventing and reversing lifestyle-related disease, the behavioural, the social, the environmental aspects of it, the challenges and the rewards.
Now look, the reason why we're all gathered here today is because we all have that little feeling inside of us that maybe lifestyle medicine can have incredible benefits, that maybe it would serve our patient population for the better, and that maybe there is hope for patients just like Buddy in the future. So, my friends, come down and join us. Let's create a healthier community together.
How inspiring. How inspiring is that? Okay. So joining us online tonight is an academic lead and senior lecturer from James Cook University. He was awarded the RAC GP General Practitioner of the Year in Queensland in 2021. And so in the next 20 minutes, he'll cover the foundational principles of lifestyle medicine, giving you everything you need to get started. So everyone join me in welcoming the Vice President of the Australasian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, Dr. Sam.
Hello everyone, am I on? I assume I'm on, thumbs up. There we go, thanks. All right, you can see me okay. Everyone, I can only see my own screen. So that's all I can see. So it's a shame I can't see the audience, but I'm sure you're all beautiful, vibrant, lovely people. I think Monash is it postgrad? In the sense of the 4 years, I can't remember which one you guys have, but I have nostalgic memories. It's lovely to be in these circles. So yeah, as was said, my name is Dr. Sam Manger. I'm a GP in clinical practice and also I sort of split my time at James Cook University looking after postgraduate courses in lifestyle medicine, graduate and masters. Obviously have various other roles with ASLM and ambassador for some federal government organisations and consult fairly wisely and run a little podcast on the side. So if you want to follow me, that's how you do it. I don't have really any social media. Now, just a quick acknowledgement country. I'm on Gubbi Gubbi land tonight, which is the Sunshine Coast of Queensland. So acknowledging traditional custodians of the country upon which I am standing, and of course on which you are standing as well. Now, a few things. I'm not being paid for this. I don't get paid for doing ASLM stuff, Australian Society of Lifestyle Medicine stuff, and I don't get paid for the podcast. I just do this for love, not money, right? So hopefully, you know, I'm not being paid by the broccoli industry or the you know, other sorts of, you know, industries within lifestyle medicine. But to be fair, the meat and livestock industry is actually a pretty powerful industry, as in some of the cereal companies. Now, a few little caveats before I go into this talk too deeply. The first is that if it's not already obvious, we've got quite a lot to cover and I'm going to be talking fairly quickly. So it's going to be a little bit of a brain workout, but I'm sure you can take photos of the screens. You can, I don't know if this is recorded, but perhaps you can watch it on playback. But I think the key points is what I'll be saying. The second thing is I'm not saying lifestyle medicine is a panacea. What it is a largely unrecognized, undeveloped and unapplied field in its true potential. And we are really only at the beginning of this. We're in relative infancy in this field. But when you actually see what it can do with already what we know, and when you start working clinically with patients and you start seeing the absolute changes, we're not just talking about lifestyle medicine, this is life medicine. When you see the complete change in the way people, the trajectory of their life, and it may be that you're met in your profession with cynicism and a jaded response from doctors of old. But trust me, people do change a lot of the time, a lot more than they give you, than they make you think they will. And you see radical changes. I've had patients with schizophrenia become peer support workers and change their whole lifestyle. I've had other patients who you previously thought were just you'd give up on, but they have changed for the better and have dramatically improved their life. So I'm not saying it's panacea, but what I am saying, in the words of Sir Michael Marmot, who, if you don't know who that is, Google him, one of the most important figures in medicine in the world, said medicine's not wrong, it's just incomplete. So the question that drives me is, especially as a GP, where just all the time, I just know this isn't the best care that we could be offering. And that's absolutely the case in the hospital sector as well. So I asked this question, and that's what I'm talking about here tonight. What's this next step? Now, as was said by our lovely MCs who sort of covered a little bit of this, is that, you know, medicine has done extremely well so far. Let's be honest about that. Let's be thankful for that. 100 years ago, 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 children died before the age of 4. About 1 in 30 women died in childbirth. These things are almost unheard of now because of antibiotics, vaccination, public health measures, amazing surgery, anesthetics, all the amazing things we've done. And if you like medical history, I do episodes on anesthetics and the history of hospitals and all that sort of stuff in my podcast. So yay us, right? But the problem is the problems keep evolving, the problems keep changing. Now we're dealing, as was said, chronic disease. 50% have one, 25% at least have two, but this has gone up quite significantly over COVID, so they're old statistics. If you look at diabetes, 20% of Australians have pre-diabetes or diabetes, and that rate has tripled over about 20 years. This is a frightening statistic, especially when you forward project that out. It was before COVID that 1 in 8 Australians were on antidepressants. Now 1 in 6 Australians are on antidepressants for some reason or another, and including a lot of children. And the prescribing rate before COVID had doubled over 10 years. So we're sort of running out of ideas into how to manage this growing weight and burden in this inadequate model, to be honest. And that's not just me saying that. Productivity Commission say that, MBS task force reviews say that. The models we run, especially in primary care, whilst run by amazing people working their arse off doing amazing things, it cannot work for the problems we're now dealing with. So this is just some stats on antidepressants. Australia is the second highest country in the world, in the OECD, in prescribing antidepressants, and we've got 75 to 98% of people with type 2 diabetes are on medication. So we've got a very, again, it's not wrong, it's just incomplete, but we've got this very pharmaceutical dominant response to distress. But yet, despite almost everyone with diabetes being on medication, funnily enough, the rates are still going up. Globally, they're going up. Now, this is a socially cultural problem, largely because of, well, increased food availability, processed food, sedentary lifestyles, this sort of thing. But if you look at certain countries, which I've highlighted down the bottom there, in certain places which are very relevant, at least to me, where I work in James Cook University, where we do work in Polynesia, Micronesia, and other places, is that the rates now about 20% of people have just pure diabetes, which is frightening. And what does that mean? Well, that means everything's expensive, because if you don't know the way the health expenditure budgets are split up, roughly a third of expenses are covered by hospitals, a third to a half, about 6 to 7% is primary care, which is bugger all. And then you've got about 18 to 20% is medications, and about 2 to 3% is public health. Now, that's a really sort of, you know, it's a very downstream way of funding healthcare, but it's a very expensive way to fund healthcare. So Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, said, if you don't change direction, you may end up where you're heading. So we're at this crossroads. And I know I'm speaking to medical students tonight, so your experience, and I say this with respect, is limited still. But when you get out beyond hospitals and you see I'm sure you're experiencing it now when you see your consultants and your registrars, the strain that the health sector is under now is frightening. And it's also a very exciting time, but as often is the case, you know, crisis brings opportunity. So this is lifestyle medicine. It's the mind-body practices, the meditation, the breath work, the visualization, the guided imagery, all that really cool stuff. That's one of my sort of subspecialties. Nutrition and diet, which includes fasting, physical activity and movement, sleep quality and quantity, reducing harmful substances and connection with nature and the natural world, and reducing things like pathological social media use. Not all social media use is pathological. But we've got to drive that with certain aspects like behavior change, health coaching, and as I've alluded to, new ways of doing practice. And I'm going to just touch on these, but sadly I don't have a lot of time to go into them, but it's, to me, perhaps one of the most exciting elements of the change we're seeing. So lifestyle medicine makes sense, right? It's a new field. Many of you may not have heard that term. You can call it lifestyle as medicine, whatever. But it's based on the strongest and oldest roots we have in medicine, which is what we do in our lives, the food we eat, the sleep, the movement, the connections we have. And we're seeing subspecialties pop up now. So lifestyle psychiatry is fairly well developed over the last 4 years. Lifestyle cardiology is budding, lifestyle endocrinology is budding. So lifestyle cognitive health is certainly a lot of evidence for that. So this is an emerging, exciting field. Now, what it isn't, though, just to clarify a few common things that pop up, it's not alternative medicine. This is foundational, real medicine. It's rigorously evidence-based. It's not homeopathy, it's not crystal, it's not energy, it's not, you know, and it's, you know, people can do whatever they want. Trust me, I'm a GP, I can deal with everyone's interests. But that's not what lifestyle medicine is. It's not medicine for wealthy people. I've worked, you know, I bulk bill still 90% of my patients. I work in as a GPSI, which is a GP special interest, for years in the public mental health sector up here on the Sunshine Coast, in the wards. This is about health equity, that everyone deserves the best healthcare, and the best healthcare is with lifestyle medicine included. And it's absolutely not a one-size-fits-all, and this is a point I'm very strong about. I do not prescribe or subscribe to a dietary ideology. I'm competent in them all, and that's my philosophy. If a person needs vegan, I can do vegan. A person who's low carb or ketogenic, I can do that. Mediterranean, whatever. I can do it all, and that's the goal of lifestyle medicine, so that you personalize it to people in the need. So this is another way to look at it. In medical school, you learn a lot about the right column there, the chronic diseases, the symptoms, the diagnostic tools, the medication treatments, the procedural treatments. You'll learn a little bit about, obviously you learn blood pressure, you learn a little bit about obesity, you may learn a bit about inflammation in principle, probably not much on the microbiome or insulin resistance or any of those mind factors. So when we talk about lifestyle medicine, we're really talking about those roots of health, all those aspects on the left there, the proximal medial determinants, and then we lobby / advocate / change where we can, because you can at a clinical level do a bit on the social determinants. We drive that change as well, but absolutely the social determinants and the planetary determinants, so crucial. So we talk about that, but we also learn a lot. And if you ever study with me, I go through mechanisms and pathophysiology. I spend a lot of time on that, going through how senescence and the mitochondria function and insulin resistance and metabolic pathways, because when you understand that lifestyle medicine is actually medicine, is actually changing these biochemical pathways, these pathophysiological processes, you realize that, and then you see the evidence in your experience, and then you see the evidence in the randomized control trials, it becomes a little bit undeniable. So really, we sometimes say lifestyle medicine is the halfway point between clinical medicine as we know it now and public health, and we certainly need to do that. This looks like a random photo to be putting up, but it's actually just to say that lifestyle medicine is also very good for planetary health. To be, the biggest emitters, whether you believe in climate change or anything, doesn't really matter to the point I'm making now, is that, for example, this is a regenerative agriculture farm that uses livestock in a way that is healthy for us, better for the animal, and better for the planet. On the left is the farm, on the right is conservation land. And that's because they built about a foot or two of topsoil using animals in a certain way. So the point is lifestyle medicine is a holistic system which leads to many different benefits. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes now going through some of the evidence. So the blue zones is where some of this started, where they went through the world and looked at the 5 populations, Okinawa, Sardinia, Cario, Mackay, and Loma Linda, that live the longest. And they have the lowest rates of cancers, heart disease, dementias, and all those sort of things. And they saw the common ground between move naturally, right tribe, outlook in life, eat wisely, etc. Then there's been various studies over the years from a preventative point, and I heard someone mention that earlier, around 80% of disease is preventable. Obviously, that's not all disease, not cancers and things like that. But even for simple lifestyle choices, 93% lower risk of diabetes, 80% lower risk of heart disease, 35% lower risk of cancer. So we know from a prevention point of view, the evidence has been there for a while, pretty solid. Let's move on. But if we talk about interventions now, because this is where it gets interesting. This is a study that was published in the JAMA back in the late 90s, and it's been replicated since then. But this is when we first knew, so it's a bit shameful that we have been so slow to pick this up. 5-year randomized control trial where they put you on a lifestyle medicine program. Now the difference after 5 years was those who were in the control group, which is treatment as usual. There was about 30% worsening, right? And those who went into the lifestyle medicine group, stenosis, sorry, 30% worsening of stenosis. And those who were in the lifestyle medicine group, there was a 8% reduction. So that's a 35% difference in stenosis. That's 35% which you don't do much about, you monitor, to 70% which is clearly a more risk. And obviously we know a lot about now about the fragile plaques and the soft plaque. So these people had a much lower rate of cardiac events, plus, as you see on the picture there, which is an angiogram, opening up of the artery. So we actually can see that this disease, which we thought, oh, that's stuck, you just have to be on statins for the rest of your life, and that's all there is to it, it's going to slow it down, and fingers crossed. We actually know that it is reversible. In atrial fibrillation, some of you would have, I'm sure when I was a med student, it was like Chad's fast, don't forget your Chad's fast. And that's cool, it's in the guidelines, it's a moderate grade evidence, quality of evidence backing that up, it's fine, strong recommendation. But I never got told that things like sleep apnea, exercise, upper weight, dietary approaches, reduce inflammation in the heart and in the electrical conduction system, and change the various dynamics, and I won't go into all of that, but that the evidence is as strong for those things at preventing and managing symptomatic AF. So the point I'm making is simply that this is you can be confident in what we're talking about here. In strokes, where they follow people up usual care versus lifestyle medicine care, after 3 years, this is after a mini stroke or a TIA. 12 people in the control group had a stroke, 1 person in the lifestyle medicine group, 12-fold difference. Diabetes, I've mentioned a few times. The study came out in the Lancet in 2018, so 5 years ago now. Really big, really nicely done study, cluster randomized controlled trial for the reversal of diabetes. And it showed that those who lost 15 kilos or more, 80% of them went into reversal of their diabetes and 56% overall. Now, this is the Australian Diabetes Association consensus statement on dietary approaches, and I wonder how many of you have ever been told this or taught that actually there's loads of different ways that you can reverse diabetes, and we should be confident in all of them, whether it's low carbohydrate, low fat, vegan, vegetarian, DASH diet, paleo, etc. Now, the average, this report says, is, you can do up to 2%, and that sounds pretty good. That's about as good as max dose metformin. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. But it gets a lot better than that, because the more we learn about lifestyle medicine, so this is a trial that came out in 2020, where they tweaked a little bit in Middle Eastern and North African people, and they put them on a 12-week, it's like a sort of moderate fasting style diet, a total diet replacement, and they gradually introduce full food back, physical activity, versus usual clinical guideline care. So nothing, standard diet activity advice, just usual care, diabetes and educator access, dietitian access. And in the more intensive lifestyle group, 61% went into remission, and 33% of the entire group went into normoglycemia, which is a HbA1c less than 5.7. They saw the actual reversal of the disease process itself, meaning that insulin resistance was reversing and insulin sensitivity was returning, and they saw a reduction in meds, which is just hallelujah. We save so much side effects and complications and money from reducing medications appropriately. This is one of my own patients. Obviously, I haven't included the name on here. This is fairly recent, and I just thought it was a good case example. He came and saw me in August with terrible diabetes. I put him on a lifestyle medicine plan. 3 months later, his HbA1c was 6.1. Saw him 3 months later again, 5.8. This wasn't a temporary, transient measure. He has changed because he was given the opportunity and the right support and guidance. We're seeing, I'm going to just check my time here. I'm going to move on. So I've got to go somewhere else at 7. Sorry. So we're seeing even changes in dementia and prevention of dementia for sure. So neurocognitive decline, this was a nice randomized controlled trial published in the Lancet a couple of years back, 1,200 people. And it showed that with a basic lifestyle medicine plan, we can improve processing speed, executive functioning. The big Lancet commission that came out a few years ago, we saw that at least 40% of dementias worldwide are preventable with, you can see they're pretty much all lifestyle factors, low social contact, education, obesity, diabetes, physical activity, smoking, etc. And we know, and this is a lot of text, so just you'll have to listen, sorry. We know that like these things, these changes aren't just, again, they're not just feel good, I feel better. They're actually going right down to the level of our genetic expression. This was a study done in prostate cancer. And what they saw, because this is the point of this study, was to look at the epigenetic expression, was that 50 genes upregulated and 450 downregulated to become an anti-cancer profile overall. That's a big change in epigenetic expression. I'm not going to touch on fasting, but the point is that we barely scratch the surface of the benefits of fasting. There are many types of fasting. Trust me, it's not just your intermittent 5-2 style stuff. The different variations have different reasons. We're seeing benefits in autoimmune disease. We're seeing benefits in cancer. I'll show you one study. This is a trial published in Nature a couple of years back, where it's a fasting mimicking diet. And what they showed was that this is people with stage 2-3 breast cancer undergoing chemo. Is the people who went through a fasting mimicking diet, it actually protected their cells because it shut their own cells down into a protective mode. So the chemo did much less damage to their own cells, right? So less DNA damage. And if you've ever seen anyone about 10, 20 years after, well, 5 to 10 years after chemo, their system is shot by that chemo. So that's one good thing, protected it. But they also got better outcomes, meaning that they had a more likely to respond to chemo well. Now, I specialize a lot in mental health, but sadly I don't have a lot of time to go into this, but a huge systematic review that came out of over 120,000 people showing that physical activity is 1.5 times more effective than CBT and medication. So this is just essential. It's absolutely essential that this is part of people's treatment plans. We know that there's a raft of amazing mechanisms. I'd love to share them with you, but I don't have time. With food, the Mediterranean diet, again, in their randomized control trial, which has been repeated 4 times now, 32% of people with moderate to severe depression go into remission with a Mediterranean diet versus 8% in control. We know the mechanisms of that. We know it reduces inflammation. We know it helps regulate HPA axis. We know it stimulates neurogenesis. We know it improves mitochondrial function. Mitochondria produce energy, so we feel better. We know social connection. I'm just going to rattle through this. This is one of my favorite slides, but I sadly don't have time to go into it. But the point is that we've got 15% of our brain cells are microglia, which are immune derivatives. They clean, they fight infections, they clean up the synapses and clean up debris and all that sort of stuff. They change phenotype in a lifestyle medicine program. They become anti-inflammatory. They start repairing the neurons, start changing expression of neurotransmitters. This is good stuff. And there's so much more I wish I could show you, right? The field has only really just begun. But when you realize it's effective, it's beneficial, it's acceptable, people want it, it's safe, we got the mechanism actions, then we can make it work. Now, I'm just going to skip through this. The point is here that that's great. Awesome, Sam, but then how do we do it? Well, that's where the model of care question comes in. How do we change? Is it the way we're doing now the best way to do things? Like, yes, a press drill is awesome for various jobs, right? Surgery, medication, great, no problems, that's it. But do we always need it? And the big answer is no, we don't. And if we do this better, which is implementation at the different levels of healthcare, whether it's hospital healthcare, primary care, community care, bring in things like health coaching, peer support workers. There's just, to be honest, there's so many things you can see. Some of my students who are consultants, one of them is an anaesthetist, he's doing a prehab lifestyle medicine program for his patients who are coming in for elective surgery because they're going to be much lower risk of complications. They're going to get out of hospital quicker, less infections, less bleeding, better outcomes, more satisfied. So why wouldn't you do it? Now you may be asking where to next. This is awesome, Sam. I'm in, I'm on board. So my advice is to go and find your fellow movers and shakers, right? You guys are probably up in that end of the curve to diffusion of innovation, if you've ever seen that. We need about 18% of the population generally to change and create a new paradigm trend. So please join into your colleagues who are running this tonight. They're the innovators, good on them. People often ask me, what can you do with lifestyle medicine? So much. I mean, I'm a clinical GP, I'm also in academia and research. I consult for government and industry and philanthropy. The world is your oyster. The demand is enormous. If you want to get into media, you can be like Andrew Huberman or David Sinclair or Rangan Chatterjee in England. That career is waiting for you too. So there's lots of opportunities. If you're interested in what I'm saying, please do join the Society of Lifestyle Medicine. That's what we're all about. We're a global movement, but there's lots to say there, but it's all going in the right direction. And if you want to study, you can come and study with me. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to work with you. All right, thank you so much. Apologies I had to skip through some of that, but hopefully it was useful for you.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was absolutely incredible. Those stats blew me away to begin with, and then you broke all the myths to do with lifestyle medicine and explained very clearly what the vision is in this exciting new field. Thank you so much, and one more round of applause for Sam.
Thank you. Thank
you, Sam. To continue on from that, I thought we thought that we would do a discussion point. So we were handing out some post-it notes earlier. So if you want to put your hand up if you still haven't got one, and some of our lovely committee members will bring that around. Thank you. Okay, while we're doing that, I have a quote from Sam just then. People do change, and I see radical change. They have changed for the better and dramatically. What is one lifestyle change that you are going to make today? I want you all to write down that one lifestyle change that you're going to make today.
Okay, guys, we might get started again. So I'm going to be introducing our second guest speaker for tonight. So our next speaker is a general practitioner with over 30 years of experience behind him. He He has a special interest in preventing, treating, and reversing chronic disease, particularly through whole food plant-based nutrition and other evidence-based lifestyle interventions. He's a fellow of the Australasian Society of Lifestyle Medicine and a board-certified lifestyle medicine physician. He also runs lifestyle medicine immersion retreats, maintains the website Plant Based Health Australia alongside his nutritionist partner Jenny, and also provides numerous educational seminars and webinars throughout the year. In the following 20 minutes, he will discuss how he incorporates lifestyle medicine into his clinical experience with a particular emphasis on nutrition. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Malcolm Mackay.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I'm always happy to speak to groups of students because it's like you guys are the future. Like you're the beginning of life's conveyor belt, not people at my end who are sort of about to fall off the end at some stage. I don't think I'm trying not to fall off the end. Okay, so me, and I'm a GP, lifestyle medicine practitioner, and I'm in clinical practice at Smith Street, Fitzroy, but I also do telehealth. And there was that photo taken yesterday because it had to be taken of me doing telehealth, or pretending to be telehealth. And also my partner Jenny and I and some other associates, we sort of have an organisation, Melbourne Lifestyle Medicine, and through that we run a live-in immersion retreat program. And we also do other programs as well, like for example, we're midway through a 4-part webinar series on the why, what and how of plant-based nutrition. And with my partner Jenny, we have some nutrition resources through the Plant-Based Health Australia website. And I'm involved with the Doctors for Nutrition Health charity. They have quite a lot of resources and they do a lot of good stuff. They put on programs for GPs and medical students on prescribing nutrition, as well as recently running a conference. So that's DFN, Doctors for Nutrition. Yes, yeah. And someone said, what's your journey? Yeah, I was going to leave that out. I'll put that in and run way over time. You know, I consider myself a conventional doctor. Like, you know, I give all those nasty vaccinations. I prescribe too many medications, far too many medications, even Valium. Wouldn't take it myself. But so I consider myself a conventional doctor. But, you know, for many conditions, lifestyle medicine, particularly a whole foods plant-based diet, is sort of one of the most powerful tools that we've got. And how I came across this was back in medical school, there was one lecturer, the trusty old cardiologist, talked about the inevitable process of atherosclerosis. And he showed all these groups for a 20-year-old, they were really gruesome slides of stroked out brains and damaged hearts and other parts of the body that, you know, go limp or get cut off. And so, you know, that looked pretty gruesome. There were risk factors, but he did say inevitable. And but in the same semester, someone else, another lecturer, talked to us and told us there were groups of people in the world, like the people in Highland, Papua New Guinea, who never got heart disease. And yet, you know, they were low tech, little healthcare, little education, but they ate mostly sweet potatoes, is the truth. And so at the time, I was sort of becoming a more serious or competitive distance runner. And I thought, and I wanted to live long and keep snow skiing and keep active. And so I thought, right, I'm in on this. I'm going to try and do the process, low fat, low salt, you know, sort of more plant-based diet that these people would have in New Guinea or Central Africa or rural Asia. And it did seem to work for me. Within the next year, I ran a really fast marathon and, you know, placed well in triathlon. So it worked sports-wise. And fast forward decades, and thanks for dobbing me in that I'm 30 years in practice, which gives away my age to some extent. I think thanks to the healthy lifestyle and the anti-inflammatory diet and things, I'm still running. And I went for a 10K run this morning and I felt energetic. So I made a little bit of a tempo, upbeat run. It was really exhausting. But the fact that, you know, my knees are just fine and I can still run and things, albeit much more slowly, I think it's testament to the lifestyle. So I digress far too much. Education is really important, and you're all here. So I'm speaking to the converted here. A few years after I finished medicine, I realised that I didn't really have a basic education in nutrition. So I did an online course. Actually, it was all done through the post at Deakin University, and I did an 8-subject graduate diploma in human nutrition. And somewhere along the line, I also did that sports medicine course. If any of you are interested in nutrition courses, the eCornell plant-based nutrition certificate program is quite good and not all that arduous. Although it is fairly expensive, they have discounts twice a year, but it's still fairly expensive. Somewhere along the line, I did a chip as well. But going back maybe 5-6 years, lifestyle medicine was really becoming a thing. And sort of took me back to where I started, because when I started, I was sort of, dabbled in a bit of meditation, was doing a lot of running, was eating the right kind of diet, maybe had some of the substance use stuff wrong. So, learning about lifestyle medicine and doing a board certification in lifestyle medicine through ASLM brought me back to all of that. It also sort of brought home to me the coaching side of it, like it's not enough. I sometimes say at our Live in Immersion event, if this was just about giving you the knowledge, we could just send you a couple of books and you wouldn't need to come to our event. We actually put a lot of focus on behaviour change. And they gave me fellowship of ASLM. Moving on. So Sam talked about the lifestyle medicine domain. So there's 6 things in that wheel. And lifestyle medicine, the use of evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic approaches. And, all the domains are important. There have been times in my life where I tried to completely leave out some domains and I wasn't in good health, despite all the exercise and nutrition. I really think that nutrition might be my bias, but I think nutrition is the keystone for lifestyle medicine. If you get the nutrition right, usually you feel more like exercising, your mood lifts, you sleep better. And I guess all the domains interact in this way, but I think the nutrition is our biggest, most intimate contact with the external world. The evidence part of evidence-based is a bit problematic because it's very difficult to do a double-blind randomised controlled trial of broccoli versus sweet potatoes, for example. This is just bringing up this point in lifestyle medicine, that this is a collaborative thing, that you don't, it's not just, here's the prescription, go out for a run. You really have to have the patient agreement. The patient has to be ready for change. You need to support them, even if they're only going to do really piss-weak changes that you might sort of go, no, but it's better than nothing. So we become the educator and the coach, not just the doctor. And I think as doctors, we really underestimate what patients are willing to do, their willingness to make lifestyle changes. We prejudge them and think, oh, no, they haven't got much education, or they're not very smart, they can't do it. And that's often wrong. And we also overestimate, and patients overestimate the benefits of medication. And we greatly overestimate whether the patients will actually keep taking chronic disease medicines that don't make them really feel any better at all. They make them feel worse. So I work in the area of individual health, and whereas in public health, you only need to have small changes to a large group of people to register a difference and improvement. And like a 20% reduction in cardiac events would be a huge, impressive public health result. But in individual health, if you're the individual who's one of the 80% who still has the cardiac event, that's a complete failure. I also comment that many nutrition intervention studies haven't really found as much as they could, because the interventions they did were too small, like, take the skin off the chicken sort of stuff. And it's a bit like if you're doing a study on parachutes. Sorry, the parachute person's in there. If your parachutes were too small, you conclude that they didn't really work very well, that it wasn't important. There are, however, some nutrition studies that have shown stunning results. I should have brought a clip on mine, but I think I'll cope with this. Randomised controlled trials. I presume that you're sort of taught that these are the gold standard for evidence-based medicine. preferably a double-blind randomized controlled trial when you don't even know whether you're eating the sweet potato or the chicken. Obviously difficult for nutrition. And you know, whereas they can study rodents for their life, you know, humans usually nutrition studies are pretty short term, and they often look at sort of biomarkers, proxies for outcomes rather than real outcomes. Like you could put someone on a keto diet and their blood sugars will improve, but they'll probably end up having a heart attack. So, you know, in the short term, you might consider it was quite good. So evidence-based medicine, as great an idea it is sort of use treatments to drug and supplement treatments that have definite effects, but may not be all that strong, versus lifestyle nutrition changes that can have extremely powerful effects, but the evidence is fuzzy. And medicine, strangely, really ignores those small dietary lifestyle randomized controlled trials, even when the results are statistically significant. And Sam's shown some of the ones already. And I will comment there too that, you know, you can have a study and statistical significance isn't always the same as clinical. Like they might have shown, there's a study at one of your competing universities, not here, found that extra virgin olive oil versus plain olive oil lowered systolic blood pressure by 2.5 points in non-hypertensive patients. Wow, statistically significant, but no clinical relevance whatsoever. Funded by the oil industry. Sam mentioned this study. This was Dean Ornish back in 1990, where he put the group on a low-fat vegetarian diet, stop smoking, stress management, moderate exercise, and got these stunning results where most patients had some regression of their atherosclerosis. The prostate study, RCT, Sam mentioned the epigenetic side of that, but at this stage, this is 2005, and Dean Ornish still has his low-fat plant-based diet. Now it's a low-fat vegan diet rather than still having some dairy in it. And you can see the chart there that the intervention subjects, the PSA went down, whereas the other randomized group, business as usual, went up. And they found that the blood from the people on the diet and lifestyle program was more able to kill standard prostate cancer cells in the dish. You know, breast and prostate cancers are both hormone-driven cancers and share many mechanisms. So I think this has some relevance to breast cancer. But how do you enroll people to either to not do something at all in their cancer or to you know, go into your diet and lifestyle program? Well, these were men with low to moderate grade prostate cancer where the treatments wouldn't be really expected to prolong life and would be expected to have lots of side effects. So it was an easy group to be able to put together a randomized controlled trial of cancer. There are some good nutrition randomized controlled trials. Nick Wright and Luke Wilson, involved with Doctors for Nutrition, to New Zealand young graduates, did the broad study in a lower socioeconomic town, Gisborne in New Zealand. And all they did was they gave the patients 3 months of counselling and instruction and support to go on a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. And there were no restrictions in the amount of food they ate, and there was no exercise program or other part. This program published in Nature was the greatest weight loss observed in a study with no calorie restriction. They kept it off at 6 months. They kept most of it off at 12 months. There have been other randomized controlled trials done too that have had some pretty remarkable results, but I'll skip on from that because I'm talking for too long. So the nutrition principles that seem to get the results in these studies, in my experience in our programs, is when we go 100% whole food plant-based, WFPB, we center the diet on starches, whole grains, legumes, starchy vegetables, and at the low-fat end of the plant food spectrum. Nuts and seeds just in small amounts, and plenty of non-starchy veg and fruit. And when we run our programs, or if I'm treating someone with heart disease, it's like green leafy vegetables, even with every meal. Yes, we had a side of kale before our breakfast porridge this morning. you guys are younger and healthier than me, you'd get away without the morning cane. And we don't use any oil or margarine and keep the sodium count low. I'll come back to some of this. You know, medicine's great if you smash your leg up or you get pneumonia or even while you're having that heart attack. But for chronic disease, Dean Ornish likens it to mopping up around an overflowing sink without turning off the tap, where the tap is, you know, the sedentary lifestyle, the excessive animal products, the fat, sugar, salt, etc. And the mops are our pills and procedures. And, you know, to the credit of all our scientists, our mops are definitely getting a lot better, but they're not really treating the cause. And when we prescribe drugs, each drug tends to inhibit a normal physiological step process. And definitely some of them will reduce the complications of disease, but they tend not to reverse it. And often it continues to progress, and the diabetic patient needs more and more drugs. And of course, there are always side effects. So some of the general principles of using food and lifestyle as medicine is to treat the cause, not just the symptoms or biomarkers. Because in the nutrition area, we've got the action of countless of thousands of phytonutrients working on lots of different mechanisms versus a pharmaceutical working on one thing. And we've got a breadth of effect and side benefits rather than side effects. The prescription is more holistic than reductionist. You know, we're not just prescribing turmeric and ginger to everybody. We're more holistic than that. I think the personalisation side is overstated to some extent, that physiologically, anatomically, we're actually all a lot more similar than we'd like to think. And as the patients improve, we don't throw out standard medicine with this, but as the patient improves, we often need to de-prescribe their medications. So comment at the bottom that the pharmaceuticals tend to inhibit normal physiological process, and the plant-based nutritional lifestyle enhance normal physiological processes. And this takes us to these mechanisms of disease, or these homeostatic mechanisms. And this is what gives the power to lifestyle. That lifestyle will affect all of these. Nutrition will affect all of these. Exercise will affect most of these. Stress reduction will affect many of these. And most diseases involve more than one mechanism. So I think the plant-based nutrition and the rest of the lifestyle, like the physical activity, have a powerful effect because you've got a whole symphony of nutrients and actions working on a multitude of mechanisms versus the pharmaceutical inhibiting one thing. You also have a breadth of effect across multiple diseases. That is, if I'm prescribing for diabetes, it will also reduce your heart disease risk, it will reduce your cancer risk, it will fix your constipation. And the same diet that prevents disease can also be used to treat diseases, and often in heart disease and diabetes, even put the disease into remission. And not to use the word reverse much in medicine, we have remission and sustained remission. So when patients fully embrace the whole foods plant-based diet, we see health transformations beyond what drugs and procedures can give you, and the patients experience wellness. And I was thinking as I was doing my nervous bathroom stop just before I started, you know, we're so focused on disease and things. We talk about lifestyle medicine and preventing this and preventing that. You know, a big part of this is actually giving people wellness, helping them to thrive, helping them to feel clear-headed, helping them to feel energetic, helping them to move more easily, the positive side rather than the disease side. And, you know, I know I take a plant-based approach, and that sort of can seem controversial in Australia. Although if you're in the USA, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine would go, a whole foods, plant predominant diet, they include that in their wheel. But it's not really controversial to recommend more whole grains, legumes, vegetables, fruit, unless you're selling anti-lectin supplements or something. It's not controversial to recommend less processed food. And it is well established that diets high in animal products are associated with chronic disease. And here's a chart, because I thought I should justify that, because in Australia, you know, we find that difficult to sort of fathom the idea that protein or animal foods, you know, might have some ill effect. And this is data we put together, and some of these references are in the resources section of my website. I'll show you at the end. So this was put together from the Nurses' Health Study, and it's a forest plot, and the line down the middle is zero effect. And this is the effect of hypothetically taking all the data and hypothetically replacing only 3% of the protein or energy from different animal sources with a plant-based source. And you see the first bunch is cause of death, and you can see that replacing a little bit of processed meat with plants makes a huge difference. Unprocessed red meat's the next one. The next one that really jumps out has been quite a big difference is if you take eggs out of the diet and put in a small amount of plant, there's a reduction in mortality. So we've got quite a bit of data here. So I guess this question, how whole foods, plant-based, physically active, meditative, socially engaged, left out some domains, substance pure you need to be for health. Well, it depends whether you have any established heart disease or any fixed risk factors. Because if you do, if you've got autoimmune disease, if you've got heart disease, if your cholesterol's stuck at, 3.5 or 4 LDL because of your genes, then you may need quite a high level of adherence to really be assured of a good result on an individual level. And, there's always perfection doesn't want to be the enemy of progress, but moderation can give you the worst of both worlds, where you feel deprived because you're restricting something, but you haven't cut it out, so you're still not really well. I find in my experience in our live-in event that high adherence really transforms people's health and vitality. And when people feel really well with it, it's actually motivation to continue on with a lifestyle change because they feel so good. Because people usually, most of us as humans, we discount the future, well, pick a healthy meal now because I might get prostate cancer when I'm 80. But if you know that it makes you feel well, or if you're someone with arthritis and when you eat the wrong kind of food, your joints ache, that's real motivation. So I keep mentioning the lifestyle medicine retreat. This is a program we've been running for a few years, and it's a 1 week, we call it an immersion, but it's a 1 week sort of live-in event. And we have our team of lifestyle medicine people, so we have someone come and talk about exercise. We have the people that run the centre provide meditation. And it's like a mini blue zone. And we provide all the food. So it's all whole foods, plant-based, sugar, oil, salt-free, because, people, so it's like our captive mini blue zone. And there's group support. That makes a big difference. Usually we have about 12 people attend this. And it's medically supervised by me and my dietitian friend who runs it as well. It's there as well. And I'm not going to talk to this wheel again. There's something I cut out with this wheel, wasn't there? There was a slide Jenny said I didn't need. And it was in the stress management, the purple box. There's something missing, I think, in this wheel. I think this wheel is stress management, but what about emotional wellness? So there we are. We can put another spoke in there or combine that in the stress management. But we try and cover all of these in our live-in event because we have a whole week to talk to people and workshop with them. And the sort of changes we get in 1 week. As the week goes on, we ask people to report what happens. And it's commonplace for them to say they have more energy, less brain fog, better mood, blood pressure. I keep my automatic blood pressure at the back of our sort of room, and people get improvements in that. They feel, despite all the fibre, that they feel less bloated, their guts work better, often report better sleep. Reduced arthritis pain. This is one that comes up again and again. These are some of the quotes that we've had from people. So it's amazing that when people really stick to it, because it's all they get there unless they smuggle something in past our sniffer dog. No, really, I'll come to this compliance thing. Here's a case study though. The 69-year-old female lives at home, lives alone, poor general health, Lots of medical conditions, some chronic kidney disease, some Hashimoto's, still has a slightly borderline TSH, previous atrial fibrillation, refused to take her NOAC. She hasn't had a stroke in the last 10 years, fortunately. I would rather they took their anticoagulant. Low mood, high cholesterol, had a hip replacement, not very mobile, won't take medications, attended our live-in program 5 months ago. And here are some pathology results. LDL, 4.9 before the program, 3.9 afterwards. 2.8 a few weeks ago. HbA1c, 6.2. No, not diabetic, but pre-diabetic. 5.8 at the most recent measure. Fasting glucose, similar. Subjectively, she said, look, I haven't weighed myself lately, but I can comfortably fit into these genes that I hadn't been unaware for years because I'd grown out of them. I'm feeling better, mood better. I don't feel as anxious as before. No one ever gives feedback like that to it when you prescribe a statin. Not that I don't prescribe statins. I said to someone about sowing the seed. Yeah, we need to inform patients when there are diet and lifestyle factors relevant to their condition. It's not always welcome. It's surprising how defensive people are. The doctors don't blame it on you, just mention it as a factor in that condition. It's surprising how difficult it can be with some patients. And no matter how tactful, and I might not be the most tactful person, but I'll try very hard, you'll sometimes get negative reactions or feedback from my practice manager that the patient wasn't happy because he came to see me and he was really worried about his family history of prostate cancer and he wanted to check. And I had the audacity to tell him there was a link with diet, particularly with dairy food. I didn't say you have to stop the dairy. I just told him about the link. But some patients will really surprise you. I made a note on one patient's file that she wasn't interested in nutrition. I mean, she just about thumped the table when I just mentioned the idea. And, 6 months later, she sort of asked me about different plant milks. So you can never really tell. You never prejudge people. There's a situation where you're in the medical practice, you're in the clinic, and it's like, well, okay, doc, what do I eat to help? Is there anything I can do for this condition? And it might not be just what can I eat. What can I do? Is there anything I can do for this condition? Oh, I don't know. I have to go and see what's in the newspaper or someone's blog. No, we can do better than that. So most real-world patients won't ever see the dietitian, won't get the exercise physiology assessment. We need to be able to inform patients when there's, in fact, we're really morally, ethically obliged to tell patients when there's a safe, more effective treatment option or treatment add-on. So we do need a basic understanding of nutrition and how it relates to our field of practice, whether that's gastroenterology or cardiology. And we need to be able to provide the patients with some resources in just a few minutes. Go and visit this website, have a look at the Doctors for Nutrition website, or suggest a book or a documentary film they might watch. We're not trying to replace the dietitian or the exercise physiologist, but we're allowed to give some lifestyle advice in day-to-day practice. Exercise, I feel like it's to recommend to anybody that they do some walking. No one needs to go and have a heart specialist checkup before they start walking. It's safer than sitting. So some take-home tips for health practitioners. You really need to tailor your lifestyle advice to the patient's readiness for change. Look for those teachable moments. Consider enrolling in a lifestyle medicine course. Maybe not now, maybe when you finish your final exams, when you wake up from your intern year. But certainly consider doing some of those courses. And as I said, be ready to provide some resources. And I think very much to do it yourself, just try and practice what you preach. I mean, none of us are going to be perfect. I can dub myself in from my extra strength Dilma tea, occasionally double bagger. Although I've learned that maybe it could increase my estrogen levels, and I'm not happy about that. But try out, for example, whole foods plant-based yourself. Try it and fit some fitness activities in. Craig Hassett would have talked to you about mindfulness and meditation things. Try and do just a little bit of that. That's one of my goals. It's been my goal for the last year and a half or 2 years to start meditating. Spend all this money on this expensive app too, so I'm going to do it. Gonna. I think one thing we can give our patients is hope. That's really important for patients, to be able to give them hope. And that, if they're already doing some sort of diet lifestyle thing and they're not really getting the results, there are always further improvements and refinements they can make and get better results. So this is some websites. The ones on the left belong to myself and Jenny, and there's Melbourne Lifestyle Medicine, which is a fancy paid someone to make a website that sort of outlines all their programs and has a little bit on lifestyle medicine. And then why do we choose such a long name? Whole Foods Plant-Based Health.com.au. That's our big nutrition website. And my partner Jenny, although she denies being a librarian nowadays, she was a research librarian support in her previous. She was a research support librarian in the previous life. So it's got lots and lots of references in there. And then there's just the Dr. Malcolm Mackay website, just for people who want to make appointments. I've got my email there. Other resources is the Australasian Society of Lifestyle Medicine and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. They have a lot of resources on their website, and they're not scared to, go the plant predominant way that, in Australia we sort of almost have to be apologetic when we're talking about even mostly plants. We shouldn't have to be. And then there's Doctors for Nutrition, and they're gradually building more and more resources, and they've got a little kit for our doctors, education, and for a few little handouts for patients. How are we doing the questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Malcolm. That was such a comprehensive presentation into the many pillars of lifestyle medicine and the power it has in transforming health. It was so interesting to hear about different studies and how lifestyle medicine can be used to prevent and treat chronic illness and help patients. Thank you so much. And get people healthy. Thank you so much. One more round of applause. Okay, on to our second discussion point. In Dr. Malcolm's presentation, he said, and quote, lifestyle medicine is not just saying, here is a prescription, go for a run. The patient has to be ready for change. And on that note, I want to ask all of you, what is one major obstacle to making a lifestyle change, and how can we solve this problem? Have a think and write it on your sticky notes. I'll say it one more time. What is one major obstacle to making a lifestyle change, and how can we help solve this problem?
Hey folks, hello. This isn't gonna be a long presentation. You're gonna hear from me a little bit later, but I'm jumping in a little bit early right now to talk quickly about the raffle that we are holding. Some of you may have seen the sign outside, but I'm gonna give you a few more details. Can we actually jump ahead to the part about buying raffle tickets just for a moment? While that's coming up, we have 4 prizes that will be raffled off tonight. 2 of them are cheese and dip baskets, and 2 of them are sets of all-you-can-eat passes to a awesome buffet in the city. I'll give you more details and specifics about them later, but that's just to give you a little bit of an incentive. So if you want tickets, you don't even have to leave your seat. You can just pay ID $2 per number of tickets that you want to our treasury email, which is treasury.mulmig@gmail.com. And you'll see my name, T. Benning, pop up. Use your full name and your year level in the description so I can write your names onto these raffle tickets, and then we're going to be drawing this later. Now, so far we have sold 16 tickets, and I did the math. If you buy 3 tickets right now, you are more likely to win a prize than you are to not win a prize. I think those are pretty good odds. And the prizes come to be $280 in total across them. The best one of them is $80. The lowest one is $60. So these are pretty decent prizes. Get in quickly while the odds are good. That's it. All right, continue with your rating responses.
All right, cool, this is on. I think we're actually going to move straight into the Slido as well, because we've got some good questions, but we only have time for a few. So I've seen that people are upvoting, which is great. So we'll only ask the most popular questions. So if you want to quickly upvote some now that you really want answered, now's a good time. So me and Olu are going to run through these. The first question that we've got, and we've got Sam back on with us as well. Sam, can you hear us okay? Awesome, thanks. All right, so the first question, or that's most popular, is could you replace all sources of protein with whey protein, theoretically, powder of essential amino acids extracted from whey, in brackets? Who wants to answer that question, either Sam or Malcolm?
Well, it's not a very, well, it's an interesting scientific academic question, but it's not a very practical question. I don't know any humans that want to replace all, if I heard that right, all protein with dairy-derived whey protein. I don't know, it's that, in theory, I suppose you could keep a human alive, if that was the question, but I don't think you'd want to do it. I don't think anyone would enjoy their life not having any other form of protein, whether that, that's plant-based or animal-based.
Easy. And do you want to pass it over to Malcolm if he wants to answer as well? Or who wants to answer as well? Or no, okay, easy.
So the next popular question was, if you have a lot of antioxidants, could you theoretically prevent deterioration completely?
It's not just antioxidants. So sorry, Malcolm, do you want to answer first and I can answer?
Yeah, you're all right, Sam. If you had a real lot of antioxidants, there's even some question about whether when people are having chemotherapy, whether taking a whole lot of antioxidants might protect the cancer cells as well. But yeah, as Sam started saying, there's many mechanisms of aging, and some of those mechanisms are to do with the genome and the epigenetic regulation and how it sort of all gets a little bit scrambled. Even if the digital part of it stays normal, then there's sort of theories about basically things sort of get a little bit scrambled, like nothing sort of gets repaired perfectly. You get sort of not just the DNA, but other parts of the cells sort of gradually get senescent. You get the build-up of cells that are like zombies. They're sort of not functioning, but they're not dead. So sadly, we're all in a state of deterioration. But I think the blue zones show that if we have a really healthy lifestyle, then, we should be able to remain active and mentally alert, to a very old age, even if we're lucky 100 years old, and we may not be able to jump as fast, recall things as quickly, etc. when we're 90 or 100. But the blue zones show that it is possible to retain vitality when you age with the right sort of lifestyle.
Can I add to that briefly? Is that all right? As Malcolm says, I mean, so to answer the question specifically around longevity, you can reverse biological age, but it's not like you can stop it and stay alive forever, all right? Especially, and antioxidants is probably not, almost definitely not the primary mechanism for that. There are many mechanisms, and we cover this over weeks in the postgraduate teaching we do. But you can slow down biological age, and that's, so I'll give two examples. One is there's been many studies, Dean Ornish, who Malcolm mentioned, as did I, partnered with Elizabeth Blackburn to look at that you can increase the length of telomeres, and that's through the action of telomerase, which is the enzyme that activates the reverse transcriptase and what ASEs. And but essentially telomeres are a sign of your biological length, and they shorten over time or with disease states. With the lifestyle medicine program, whether it's the Dean Ornish style sort of diet, physical activity, stress, connection, etc., or just mindfulness. They've done trials just on mindfulness showing that actually activates activates this process and lengthens telomeres as well. So yes, you can, and there have been studies showing in humans showing they've slowed the aging rate by about 25 to 30% with intensive lifestyle and supplements. I'll add on some of those other trials. Which means that in theory, that person is going to get hit by a car is going to live until 140, something like that.
It's still working? Awesome. Haven't seen it on button. All right, so we've only got time for a couple more questions, so keep upvoting for those really popular questions. The next popular question is, how can doctors adhere to lifestyle improvements for themselves when they have a demanding clinical life?
Well, that doesn't just apply to doctors, although there are some parts of your training that might be ridiculously demanding, if you have to, put in 60 or 80 hours a week or something, which is inhumane, but yes, it is what it is. I guess it's planning, like, with the food you eat, you only really need to do one big shopping trip a week. You might batch cook things, you might have things in the freezer that you grab out, things that that are easy things that you could take with you. You might sort of work around your schedule and sort of find little spots in it where you can fit in, a sort of efficient short burst of exercise. Craig Hassett would tell you there's always time to meditate, but that's one. I'm struggling to find any time at all for that, but only would take really in truth about 5-10 minutes a day. So yeah, I think some of that comes down to making a plan rather than I'm gonna. I need to stop saying I'm gonna start meditating and actually have an action plan. Like, right, this is my plan. These are the time slots. This is what I'm going to do. This is for the next month. So having a plan. So that's my summary of that.
Okay. Easy. So we'll move into our last question. But if you guys have any more questions, we have a link on our page, just so you can ask more questions. We can get them into our other events. So our last question is, are vitamin supplements valid? Are they valid in your opinion? Or I guess your opinion of them?
Yeah, I take a few vitamins. I take some. I don't live in nature vitamins. I take vitamin B12 because I only eat plants. But unlike a hunter-gatherer person, don't drink from the Yarra, and I clean the dirt off my potatoes, or rich sources of B12, or slime off my fruit. And I don't always go outside enough, especially in the winter in these southern latitudes. So I take a bit of tea in the winter. Look, people take nutrient supplements just in case. We shouldn't. When you take a nutrient and take it out of its natural context in the food, you're looking for trouble. Like they did one study with, for example, if you take a mineral supplement, the different minerals can inhibit each other's absorption. There was one study of lung cancer. Lung cancer patients are great for research. It's like a rodent that's given themselves their own carcinogen. and then you can see the effects of lifestyle. And if they eat more beta carotene and they have more blood beta carotene, they get less cancer. But if you give them beta carotene supplements, they get more. Probably because the beta carotene is just one of the markers in the vegetables. And anyway, all these different carotenoids and probably flooding the body with one type sort of interferes with the other type. So I'd always say to people, be careful of nutrient supplements. Don't forget they could have a negative effect. I would also say the same about a protein powder. If you're eating pea protein instead of peas, or oat protein instead of oats, you're actually taking fiber out of your diet and taking minerals and taking polyphenols out of your diet.
All right, Sam, did you have any last things to add?
Join the Bedford Student Society of Lifestyle Medicine. But specific to that question, I just agree with Malcolm really. I mean, food first, and that's but there are therapeutic, obviously folate in pregnancy, iodine in pregnancy, B12 in people who are 100% plant-based, and vitamin D for a variety of multiple sclerosis, for example. So there's clearly a role, but like everything we're talking about here, if there's evidence for it and you know the profile safety-wise, then you can use it. But it's about informed decision, really, and evidence-based medicine.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Now, yeah, so we've got the Healthy Habits Hotline, which is on our social media. There are a lot of questions that you submitted, which is awesome, but obviously we can't get to them all. So we can look at those questions later, create some content. So if you still have more questions after this, please send them to our social media and we'll try to answer them later and at future events. Now I'll hand over to Mackay and Angus.
Thanks so much. And so that sort of wraps up the formal presentation part of tonight. I just want to say one more massive big thank you to Dr. Sam for tuning in online, taking time out of his busy schedule. Sorry, I'm trying to look at you, but there we go. Taking time out of his busy schedule to really give us an awesome insight into kind of the foundational pillars. And I don't know, I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say some of those statistics were just unbelievable. I think that's what really drives it home. And, knowing that lifestyle medicine education amongst even medical students is just so poor, and that we really have to change that. That was really, I think, driven home by some of your points. So yeah, I think we're just so grateful. I think I do speak on behalf of everyone when I say we're so grateful to have you come and speak to us tonight. It's been awesome. And yeah, just thank you very much. We've got a card coming for you in the mail. We do have some vegetables here, but I'm not sure whether the logistics of that, sending them through the post. So we might not do that. The card will come at some point, but no, yeah, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Big round of applause.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for inviting me. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Sam. And also I'd like to give a massive thank you to Dr. Malcolm here. I just think your engaging presentation was exceptional, and your bubbly humor as well really painted a clear picture for us all about lifestyle medicine and etched within us the drive to keep it at our forefront. And if I were to continue your simile that you gave, I think we're all galvanized here to actually turn off the faucet so of just sweep in water perennially. So thank you very much for coming here, and a massive round of applause to both Malcolm and Sam. It's really just to say thank you. Include an array of vegetables, which I'm sure you'll enjoy.
I'll head off. I'll see you later. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks, Sam. All right, so we hope tonight has given you a bit of an overview on what lifestyle medicine is, what all the areas are. Our plan, actually, before we get into our plan, first we'd like to introduce you to the committee that brought tonight together. They've all done, like each and every one of these people has done like so much to bring us all together. I won't go into it all because it's just a ridiculous amount, and we're extremely grateful for them, and their faces are up on the screen. Please say hi to them on the way out as well. Actually, can we get a round of applause for them? They've done it.
Right, so our mission, why we're here, why is MULMIG here? To keep it brief, our goal here is to eventually create a healthier community that is free of chronic disease. Now, this is a long journey that starts by taking things one step at a time, but the steps can look something like this, where you guys attend the events, you learn from the events, and now you're educated about the events, which means that when you do become a doctor, when you do practice, that the care that you provide is more holistic, which leads to better patient health, which leads to a healthier world.
All right, so tonight was like an overview on what lifestyle medicine is. For the rest of the year, we'll be going into like the different, the 6 different pillars, and we'll put more of a spotlight and make it, like tonight was very like a quick overview, but yeah, so Active April is coming to an end, but please, we'll get into the specifics of that in a second. But coming up, we've got mindfulness in May, and then we've got dry in July, which will be focusing on reducing substance use. And then in August, we're focusing on nutrition, and in September, we'll be focusing on health coaching and the application to the clinical space. I'll pass over. Oh, sorry, yeah. So another exciting thing about Active April is that we are launching MULMIG's first park run, which is going to be on April the 29th at Joel's Park, and will happen every Saturday from then onwards. We've got a few exciting things in the works there, so keep an eye on that, and we'll put more details on our social media as well. And now over to Dhruti.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thanks again to everyone for spending such an engaging and resourceful evening with us. I think I speak for the whole committee when we said we had an amazing night. It was amazing interacting with everyone. But just a little bit more about Active April. So we hope you've gotten good food for thoughts and good food for your bellies as well. And now it's all about getting active. So Active April is an initiative by the Victorian government to basically encourage citizens living in Victoria and everyone living in Victoria to just get a little bit more active and to engage a little bit more. So what we want you guys to do is to possibly follow us at mulmig.monash on Instagram and Facebook, and everything about our challenge and what we're doing within the student community is on our Instagram and Facebook. So if you do have the time, it would be amazing if you could submit a short video of what it is for you to be active, whether it's you going on a run, whether it's you making a nice healthy meal, whether it's you making a challenge out of something that's normally quite mundane. Take a video of it, post it, send it to us. We'll feature you on all our socials. We'll put you in a big drive, and you stand a chance to win a 5-day casual gym pass to Training Day Gym in Clayton. It's a great way to get involved. A lot of people have already sent their videos in. It's a whole lot of fun, and all the rest of the details can be found on our Instagram and Facebook. So thank you. And
now we're going to pass on to Tom quickly. Who's done a ridiculous amount of work for this event.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, they say money makes the world go round, so here we are. Well, I'm sure it's not the part you've all been waiting for, because no one sits down at an event and waits for the part where we thank our sponsors. But bear with me, because I promise there's something in it for you. All right, so my name is Tom. I am the Treasurer and Sponsorships Officer for the Monash University Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group, or MULMIG, as we'd like to be called. And we've brought you this fantastic event today. Hope you don't mind me saying. I'm very proud of what the committee has accomplished. They've all put in so much. And that food that we handed out earlier, I had a fantastic time seeing everyone with their hungry faces come up and grab some. It was brought to you today by those two you see on the right up there, Give a Fork and Whole Foods. The Give a Fork volunteers worked with lots of dedication up in the Whole Foods kitchen, preparing all that food so we could carry it all over and hand it out, and they don't get anything out of it. They just believe very passionately that nutritious, good food should be brought to the masses, and they've been doing catering for clubs and groups on campus for years now. So if you're involved with this running of a club and your club wants to provide some food that's not the boring crap that food clubs often serve, what am I saying? And it's not more expensive than the regular boring crap, then send us a message. We can hook you up, get that nutritious food out into the wider world. Whole Foods, they're a fantastic restaurant. If you're based at this campus and you don't know what Whole Foods is, I think you're doing university wrong. I went to them every single day for lunch while I was based at this campus. Nowhere else are you going to get a plate of dal and brown rice, hearty, healthy, delicious for $3. It's fantastic. I never spent so little on food while being so healthy and happy in my life. Moving on. So I mentioned the raffle before, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. We have four prizes, sorry, 2 categories of prize brought to you by the 2 on the left side over here. Botanical Cuisine has given us 2 killer cheese and dip baskets. The first one valued at $80, the second one valued at $60. And 2 lucky people are going to go away with these 2 baskets. Unfortunately, the rest of you are just going to have to go buy your own, which is usually how it works with raffles. You can find them at botanicalcuisine.com or at their storefront. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize that. We're going to post these details on the social media later. And that brings me to our other sponsor. Oh, actually, first off, I want to quickly read this list of adjectives for their products that they've got on their website, and I absolutely love this. Their products are enzyme-rich, nutrient-dense, fermented, raw, plant-based, dairy and gluten-free, but deceptively simple. I love that, isn't that great? But those are all great attributes and all things we probably need more of in our diet. But our other sponsor up there is Veggie Tribe, and they are, just like Whole Foods, a fantastic restaurant that delivers delicious, nutritious food at an affordable price. But unlike Whole Foods, they are found in the Central Business District of Melbourne. I've got a handy little map up there to show you how close it is to Melbourne Central. You just pop around the corner and there it is. I've gone there about 8 times now, I think. I'm addicted. And yeah, one time after the nutrition conference, yes, there is one of those, the Nutrition and Healthcare Conference held by Doctors for Nutrition, I went there and I was having dinner, and the entire staff, as well as all the speakers from the conference, showed up and had their after-conference celebration dinner. They booked out the entire upstairs of this restaurant. So if the entire hosting staff of a nutrition conference are using the restaurant, you know it's been tested by the experts. While you can order off a menu, their big draw is their buffet. They have dumplings, pasta, pizza, curries, salads, dolmades, and more that I couldn't remember while writing this list about a minute ago. But it is absolutely fantastic, and they have not only provided 2 sets of all-you-can-eat voucher passes for our raffle today. One will get 3 people in, and the second person to go for that prize will only get the one that lets 2 people in. Not only that, they have given us this big stack of 25% off vouchers that we're going to hand out to everyone here. So, something for everyone, whether you buy a raffle ticket or not, but buy one anyway. So, those prizes. We have 2, as I said, cheese and dip baskets, one $80, one $60. We have 2 sets of all-you-can-eat passes for Veggie Tribe. The triple pass is worth $84, and the double pass is $56. And I think that's pretty damn good for a raffle where tickets are $2 each. We've had a few more tickets come in, but your odds are still good, so get in now. I'm going to move to this next slide, which it's back. So this is your last chance. But I implore you to think about this. It's not just about the prizes. You're not just going into a raffle to get something back out of it. We are on a mission here. We are on a mission to improve the health of society, to improve the medical system, to improve the education of doctors, and all proceeds from these tickets are going towards that vision. They're going towards our advocacy for change in policy, in education, and for future events where we want to provide nutritious meals and bring in more guest speakers with informative content like we've done so today. So just buying 1 or 2 tickets really helps, and we really appreciate it. So I'm going to take a moment to go around with a few of the committee members, and we're going to make sure everyone gets one of these 25% off. And that's going to give you another couple minutes to buy a raffle ticket if you want. Yeah, see you in a second.